Hi, it's Sonia and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to do this sketchbook tour. This is my loose sketchbook. It is, I've been really keen to do this one because it's kind of like, I always say this about my current ones I've just finished, but it is a favourite, and it's one that I've learned, I feel like has pushed me, and I'm sort of moving forward with some of the things I've been trying out in here. So it is a Sea White, a Brighton sketchbook. It's these ones over here, actually. I got it on Amazon, but quite relatively expensive. I think it was around $20, but it does have a lot of pages, and I'd had one before, and I'd really liked, what is it? Let's have a quick look. It's cartridge paper, 140 GSM, and I like this size. It's a nice square size. So yeah, and basically I also started it upside down, but I knew when I've had a previous one of these that I was sort of more, I guess, tighter drawings in some ways, but I deliberately wanted, with this one, I had the intention that I wanted a loose sketchbook, one where I pushed myself to be even looser than I normally am. And so it was in some ways to be sort of a more experimental place to have a go. And whenever I start sketchbooks, they do start out, I'm not sure that was actually my intention in the first few pages, because I can tell I've painted over some of these pages. And it's mixed media. Like this one, I've obviously come in and there's a drawing underneath it, and I have no idea what it is, but I painted over with acrylic, I believe. And yeah, but I started to, I don't know why, I think this was not loose. This is another page I painted over, but I've left the drawing to come through. So I tried in pen to draw my desk in quite a detailed fashion, but I didn't love the effect. So then I painted over it with, I think this is white acrylic, but I like how the drawing sort of comes through, slightly blurred. And then I think I've pasted this section out, stuck post-it notes. So I think as it became more playful, I was like, let's just commit fully to making this a sketch, a very loose sketchbook was the aim. Some pages I don't keep to that. So while I had this was a sketchbook I was doing when I had other sketchbooks on the go. And I remember I drew this, I had a photo on my phone of my three boys together near the sea. And I drew this quite a few times. And in here, I just kept this sketch as loose as possible as well. Playing about with, I think this is Inktense blocks or pencils, blocks, I think. Me drawing on the floor, so I think I took a photo of myself drawing on the floor, but then I didn't want to, I drew it a few times, and then I first went in with, this looks like a brush pen, or using leftover paint with just drawing with a brush. So there have been ways of working faster, like drawing with a brush, I can't get too tight. Drawing with blocks, like those sort of, I've got one here actually, I forgot to put it back. Like these sort of, if you draw, you probably could get really detailed, but personally I can't. It seems to loosen me up. So there's certain materials that I know will help me keep, not get too into the details. This was from a sketch. I remember I had a sketch on my wall from an old sketchbook, so I actually cut the sketchbook up because a lot of the work I do sometimes recycle sketchbooks because I don't want to keep too, I've got a lot of stuff, but I don't want to keep too, I feel like, I don't know, some stuff I keep, some I let go, and I'd let this particular sketchbook go, but I'd kept this sketch, which I've reinterpreted again in this sketchbook because I kind of liked it, and I tried to keep it to pastel colours. This is also a place to play around for me with colour, and I play around with colour quite a lot anyway, but this was actually, for me, I wanted to see some days if I could just not think about colour in terms of colour theory or any kind of colours working together, and what would happen then, like if that sort of juxtaposition of materials and colour together, because why not, and then see. And sometimes I like the results. Like this is a bit of collage with tissue paper, And it was just interesting. It's I guess it's good to look back on for ideas, this sort of a sketchbook. This was, oh good, I did from a sketch of a photo from when I was back in Essex, very flat landscape. And I've got some of these images I've got in like my gouache landscape sketchbook, and they're in a much more, for me, realistic fashion. But here I was just about, can I get something down quickly? This is also a great sketchbook. It's a good size, and it's a great sketchbook for anybody who is struggling who wants to do a bit of art, but doesn't have long. And then these sort of pages, there's not many that I spent a long time on. They were kind of like, you know, I'd say 10 minutes, even 5-minute sketches, till maybe some days, if like this looks maybe a bit more considered because I've half an hour. But even if you only got 10 minutes, you can have it as a 10-minute sketchbook. This was from an old photos. The great thing with this is a lot of the time, even though I've got millions of photos on my phone, sometimes I tend to draw from the same photos again and again. But then who was it? Not Henry Matisse. Or was it Matisse? Oh gosh, Monet. Didn't they draw, I read in a book, 250 times he drew the same scene, depicted it. God. And so there's nothing wrong. But every time with this, because I went in this sketchbook, I totally changed up how I draw on this particular photo, because I deliberately went in with different colours. I think I was using a bit of paint, it just came out a lot of the time. It's come out differently. It's also it's completely separated from the other sketchbook that I've done the scene from. Actually, it'd be quite good to compare them, wouldn't it, actually, if you put all your sketches of the same thing out, but I'm not sure I could find it. This was obviously just a fun mark making page. I think I was testing out some stuff. This looks like it might be, all right, that's interesting. Palm Springs. I would not have recognised that as we went there. And this was from a hike. I almost thought, is this a map crunch scene? Because I think it's not about representing necessarily so that you'd even know. It's more about, how can I make something that interests me, that's fun to do, the whole process. Like, how am I like trying different things out? Oh, Coty from a local nature park. So I know this scene, but I've changed it up with this sort of neon, I think it's neon ink background, was it neon watercolour? And then I've come on top with, trying out different colours. And for me, I feel it adds atmosphere. That was the other thing I wanted to try and see if I could do. I'm thinking maybe, I feel like a little bit influenced by that sort of there's a Peter Doig painting, and he did like, was it someone's house, and it was this colourful house through trees, and I love that painting. Okay, super in keeping with the concept of this sketchbook. Super quick sketch. I mean, I guess that could have been done in a couple of minutes, but I like it. There's something very, for once I have subtracted, and it's minimal, but it interests me. I don't know if it'll interest anybody else, but these the point with sketchbooks, that they are primarily, even if you choose to share them, they're primarily for you, aren't they? So, and where you can get creative. Here, using I've learnt, I feel like it's only a recent thing, but it's been a couple of years, to pre-prepare pages. And so you've got this nice yellow, which then speeds up the whole process. Because, I never used to do this. I'd do a painting, I want a background, or I'd get smudge paint onto the white, and I need to paint over that. But then you go in and trying to I still do it, but it just takes so much longer than if you pre-prepare paper. This is another, this is Map Crunch. I did just chose some random Map Crunch views. And this is handy. I wish I'd made more notes when I'm doing things. 10 minutes. This was a 10-minute sketch looking at the photo. I wrote down, is it Brazil? Another Map Crunch. Oh, okay. This is another random Map Crunch. Looked at the scene. Then this is drawn from my memory. Oh yes, so sometimes that was a fun exercise. Like if you look at a scene, then totally turn it off and draw from. I wouldn't normally do that but in a sketchbook that I'm deliberately pushing myself to not be realistic, explore, I felt permission, and I actually like that scene. I like what I've done with it. Sketching the kids, but trying to be looser in my sketching of them, which is hard because when it comes to figurative art, I feel my background in that is very kind of like, I feel like that's where I used to push myself to learn to draw and get more skillful, as it were. So it's harder for me to play around, I feel, with portraiture and loose faces, to be honest with you, but maybe to some people they are. Oh, then they were cutting down eucalyptus trees, so I took a photo out the window, and you only see that it's amazing when they're doing all the tree surgery and they're really high up. This is, I feel like this is Map Crunch, yes, and it is. See, this is, I think there's a little bit of wax resist. I just had great fun. I just felt the permission to really play with splodges and marks. Yeah. But I've kept them more, I guess, realistic-ish colours. Oh, used photos from one of my son's games when he went to play soccer, and it was really... He played in the fog one day. That was funny. We went to the same place 2 days in a row. One day it was fog, and then the next day we returned to the same place. It was like by the sea. Bright sun. Here is... I think these are Japanese watercolours. So this paper, this is a cartridge paper. But I felt like this is what I do, you know, this is a really good sketchbook. I feel like it takes as long as you don't go crazy with the water, it does take some watercolour paint. Or is this Inktones? I know, I think it could be Inktones blocks, but I use them as paint. What's this? From another run. I used myself as a reference and then tried to draw myself really quickly using old acrylic paint. I used a book, this is from a Whistler book, but I tried to deliberately loosen up, and this is with me trying to get looser in portraiture and drawing people, and I quite like that sort of effect, I'm not gonna lie. I think this is Japanese watercolours. I've really got into Japanese watercolours, more so than, you know, I've got one good set of Winsor & Newton half pans, but even more so than that, I'd say. Drawing the boys again. I feel like went on to be a portrait in acrylic. There's the 3 of them. Okay, here from our road trip I started playing about. I've done some very detailed gouache sketches in my Moleskine journal, but then afterwards sometimes I want to get loose. I feel like I've been concentrating, so I would then just get some paints out and just try and draw. This I think was oh gosh, was it Zion? Drawing, but just going a bit crazy with it, having fun, and I like that effect. Adding on neon to landscapes. Yeah, with landscapes I feel like I can really loosen up for some reason. I don't feel so. I'm drawing more from photos. Yosemite. I like this one. This is one of my favourite pieces in this sketchbook. I don't know why. I think it's the strong colours, and then the use of, is this Prismacolor pencil, just to add in, not overdo it, just to add in a little bit of texture and areas of interest. So on again. I kind of like adding these pinky tones to landscapes just to vary it. Bryce Canyon, I mean, you wouldn't recognise that, but that wasn't the point. This is a... Yeah, and this one I like. Just the little marks sometimes can help bring interest into scenes. I mean, I'm not sure you know where, of course you wouldn't really know where you are, but there's something about it. It's almost like getting into, you could probably push this further, and then, well, maybe I am in my abstract work pushing it further, yeah. Here I tried to I think I tried to like edit the landscape like I've got a lot of sky and then this small bit of sort of deserty plain. That's a run scene that I know very well, and it's super, just quick. Then I switched it up in this, it seemed to be landscapes. Now I went to sort of playing around with still life and florals and crayon, but just adding in here, this is the difference when I've just come in with a background. I've drawn on white paper and then I've just added this, which is, oh, this is quite a fun technique for this style of drawing, because I didn't feel like I had to go and get in. I'm not trying to like, it's sort of an illustrative piece. It's not meant to be accurate. Boys drawing and playing. I like this because it was on this under painting, or under added definitely to the piece, and then with the pencil I've gone in quite deep. I wouldn't say this is, it's loose in a way. It's loose for me in some of my drawing style, but yeah. And this is I like sometimes to get these like cheap art books from the library, just to, I don't tend to read them, which is really bad because I probably should, but like I like, you know, the reproductions of old paintings. And then I think it was a book from the Louvre, and I just drew some people in it quickly. Oh, this went on to be a landscape. This is the same photo that I used for a landscape painting, a final piece that I got first prize in the local art society for under landscapes. And here I'm playing around with it again, but I wanted to, what was the magic for me was these sort of clouds coming in, the grey clouds. And here, this is Japanese watercolour, and I do love just the uncontrollability sometimes you get with watercolour. The problem is if I'm not careful, sometimes I deliberately with this sketchbook felt permission to leave things a bit. Whereas sometimes I'm like, is it finished? And I'd come in with some gouache and then you lose that. So I think, yeah, here, this didn't take me long at all. It's quite a scribbly drawing. But for me, what makes it is just these, I mean, you could argue that's gone too dark. I mean, that's practically a black cloud. But there's definitely, I feel the atmosphere. I really like that one actually, and I wish in some ways I don't know how if I could make that into redo it as a work on paper and as a print. Woods. I think I learned something in this sketchbook. I did learn to maybe not go cover up. Be careful about covering up watercolour sometimes, because you just lose the sort of transparency and the spontaneity. Oh, I think I made a process video on this way back. Oh gosh, this is when I first started YouTube, actually, back in September last year. And because I think I was making a video, I went completely, a little bit, I probably pushed this, but I like how it turned out in the end, because I started off, I was really going neon and getting all the colours mixed up. But yeah, but I like that. So worked out. Yeah, playing, this was I think almost drawing with my right hand, non-dominant hand maybe, because with a pen like this I can be very tight, and how then do you loosen up with I think this is a Posca pen or a black felt tip. Oh, and then a little tiny bit of, I've added some collage, which is strange actually, because I wouldn't have, I only noticed the collage, in some ways this little bit of collage sort of works. It's not overwhelming in this piece. So a football pitch, but with a neon green. This isn't my, look, sometimes if you look through the camera it looks different, but I don't know. This was again doing with a very heavy underpainted, I think it's acrylic or gouache, just to see what happens. Loosely painted passion flowers with watercolour, going in straight away with the brush, no drawing. I love playing around with ceramic shapes and vases, and these sort of the ones you get on the museum, like Pinterest. Sometimes Pinterest is my friend if I'm really like got a few minutes. I don't want to draw my photos. I don't want to draw anybody. I just want to draw something. Something just very relaxing and pleasing about the shape of a of an interesting vase. And here is another landscape, loose. Here, this I know this scene, it's my one of the running routes, but I've really gone in with this sort of these neons and pinks, and I like this colour combination a lot actually. Yeah, so I should actually refer back to this for sometimes when I'm thinking about paintings on paper. Ooh. See, that's obviously accidental, but I just kind of like, here I'm just playing around with some squiggles of oil pastel, but trying really hard to leave it and not go crazy on it. Changing up colours. Japanese watercolour. I think I really did get into Japanese watercolour. I mean, this is a local park that I've spent many a time in because with the kids, like, I don't even want to think about the hours. And I'm just playing around with splodges of Japanese watercolour, just seeing how they react on each other. Like, if I go really sort of lighter and then really saturating or loading up the brush. Don't love this page, but I'm just playing about. Here we have lots of, I don't know if they were, I don't know what these flowers are, but there was a lot of yellow, sort of maybe they're turned weeds, I don't know, near the marina. So that was the scene. But I like this. I just like how the paints react, even on this cartridge paper, the watercolour. Here you can see it's all smudged, and this is a very quick one. Oh, and again, I put a little bit of collage in for here. Maybe I was covering up something, I don't know. Did I do, I feel like I showed this on I don't know, I can't remember. This was near some, like a waterfront scene. I think these are like meant to be boats, but I didn't have much time, so it's a super quick, spontaneous sketch. This is really rough. I mean, I could come back in and cover this page up, but I'm not sure. I feel like this book is finished and I'm happy with it, so I'm probably going to leave it. Bay Area View. Oh, this one I wouldn't say is, this I got pretty tight and into all the details. I think I was just in a little bit of that sort of doodle, just wanting to sit and just make an intense number of small marks. Okay, this I think I intended to come back to, but it's collaged shapes. I feel like this is another from our trip to Joshua Tree, but changing up the colours of the landscape. Japanese watercolour again. See, I just like how this happens, and you have no sometimes control over it, which is rather fun. And this sort of thing, again, if you haven't got much time, just painting with a big brush and watercolour, drawing with watercolour is a really fun way of, just playing. And it's really, there's something about the sensation of it as well, I think. It's very relaxing. Other days, I just feel like I want to go in with the colour and the contrasts and go a little bit left field, or just put things together that I wouldn't normally. I just really enjoy that. Here is from a soccer match. Drawing with, loosely based on things on the table, plants, flowers that I have. So, yeah. But deliberately, I am currently, and I was very into sort of that naive painting, or those sort of artists like totally not sort of, I've spoken about it before, I guess, sort of Danny Fox. I'm trying to think who else is really naive on the top of my head. I don't know, there's quite a lot of these different painters about, and I just kind of there's something just interesting about that work. Maybe because it is going against, in some ways, very traditional drawing, just playing around. I just like to play around sometimes I want to draw tight, sometimes I want to draw loose. I can't explain it. My mood, it's not a very good reflection of how slightly up and down I am in terms of drawing moods. I'm like, ooh. Hopefully otherwise I'm relatively stable. This is a pink landscape. And this one is, I did a process video. This one I wanted to show, I took randomly 3 tubes of gouache and I closed my eyes and I faithfully used that primarily in my painting. So it was, what was it, red ochre and yeah, so I just used those colours. I think I might have then allowed myself to go over with pencil and just make it a bit more interesting. But that was a fun exercise as well. Like, limitations are obviously something that's everybody likes to use, when, especially if you're being, what's the word? Taking it all a bit seriously and going around in houses trying to set yourself up, like, and getting nowhere, not making any work. Just grab 3 things and you have to use them. No ifs, no buts. Drawing from memory, the lilies. Oh yes, this is just drawing from memory on top of this. This page has been painted over and over. So I did something under it, didn't like it, painted over it, didn't like it, painted over it. And then I just finally feel, actually, you know what? This is I just quite like the textures and the finish. This is a snow scene, very, very fast and spontaneous. I think I did a process on this. And yeah, I mean, I feel like it hopefully depicts the snow and shadows, and I kind of like that, the contrast of the sky. Again, snow, but in Japanese watercolors this time. So I think this sketchbook is pretty mixed media, really. And I don't know, I think it was from a photo of a hike. I didn't put where. Again, I've not dated or put where this is. I like this. There's something a little bit abstract, kind of. I don't know what I was looking at when I did this. Was it some, you know, painters who do very flat abstracted landscapes, and this is I know this scene. I don't think anyone else would. There's like a path going down and then you can run around there and there's a bridge, but like, I kind of like how that's turned out, weirdly enough. This was playing around mixed media, trying to play about with colour a bit more. Why does this feel, it's because there's another page. Oh, this sort of went a bit wrong, really. But yeah, I think that's actually meant to be like up in the mountains from a photo. Look, these are all from photos. This sketchbook has not been taken out on scene. It's not for that. It's an inside sketchbook for when I was just feeling that need to not be precious, just play. And yeah, I do maintain this is a I would get this one again if it was ever on offer, but I think I've actually bought some square ones, Artesia ones, because they're cheaper and similar square shape. Actually, from this sketchbook I have started, because I finished this, I've got 2 other loose Artesia sort of but bigger sketchbooks that are my new kind of loose sketchbooks, and there I'm starting to model up my before I kept my floral still life very separate. But this time round I seem to be mixing it up with just landscape and it being a loose sketchbook. But this style of working I feel I want to continue with. A very loose, I tried to be deliberately loose in this pencil sketch. And this is a lake, I don't know if you could tell. And then I went in with a little bit of paint. This one, so I wanted to go, what I like to do is the contrast. This was I think this one was a super quick one. You can sort of see that. Probably like, I mean, you can spend like, 10 minutes, maybe. Hold on, there's another page. Oh, that was just a fun page. This one, I went in and then I decided to go over it, and how far could I push it? Like, keep layering and layering, more so than I would. And the risk with this is you overwork it and you're like, oh, should have stopped. But on the other hand, I will never learn. And actually I got it to this place, I stopped, but I actually think it's benefited from layering up, and I like the contrasts that you sometimes get. Okay, then I'm coming towards the end of the sketchbook. I feel like at the moment, every time I get towards the end, there's this like, I'm near the end of a sketchbook. Then I started to find, I've discussed this before, but I've been going through all my paperwork and paper pieces and old sketchbooks I've cut up, and I just want to rehouse some work, because I feel sketchbooks keep them sort of like they're just much more pleasant to flick through rather than just drawers of loose leaf work. So I've rehoused these drawings. That's a very old one. Gosh, that's from 2015 of one of the kids. Then I've got yeah, that's on a painted background. I just tried to sketch one of the kids under a blanket. Oh, a dream. I have always wanted to draw from dreams. I think this last night I dreamt I had a bad cold and I felt like I was, oh no, I think I had a bad cold and then it felt like in my dream I was like drowning, you know, when you have that horrible sensation. But sometimes it's really hard to remember one's dreams, or they're just so weird. You're like, I just want to leave that, park that. So I don't do that much. This was another soccer pitch, which I've tried to make more interesting. I have to be honest with you, maybe soccer pitches are good to play around with because they do intensely seem a little bit boring, right, where they are situated and they're just an expanse of green. But on the other hand, they're quite simple to draw. And this is a imaginary, they're going very loose playing. Oh, from a hike. And then I stuck on this first. I think I knew I was gonna struggle to finish this. I just wanted to finish it. And then I stuck on this and then did this drawing. And I tried to use, I am struggling a little bit with the Inktense blocks. I went and bought a load of them and pencils and stuff. And I like them sometimes and other times I'm like, I struggle with, you can't mute. I feel like I don't know how to mute the colours. It's like if you get the blues for sky and stuff, there must be, I assume, can you mix white in? I need to look into them more. But anyway, then I feel like I always end up coming over the top with gouache or other materials. I don't think I've ever really done a pure Inktense block drawing. Then I just stuck this in, and that is the end of this sketchbook. This is quite a big one because, yeah, this is why actually I liked it as well, because I do like sketchbooks that have a lot of pages sometimes, but then I also quite like sketchbooks that don't have so many pages because then you fill them up quicker. But anyway, that was that. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this might give you some ideas for your sketchbook, especially if you're trying to fit it into small amounts of time. And yeah, I'll be back with another video at some point. Oh, I do have a Patreon as well if you want to check out. And that is that. Thanks to all my Patreons as well for like supporting, you know, me in and this channel. And I'm going to say bye.